Most people never stop to ask why money feels so different depending on how much of it you have. Not just in your bank account, but in your chest, in your sleep, in the way you walk into a room. The number on your paycheck doesn't just buy things. It shapes who you believe you are, what you think you deserve, and how much of your life you feel like you actually own. Right now, somewhere in the world, two people are eating breakfast. One is calculating whether they can afford groceries after rent. The other is deciding between two vacation homes. Both believe they are managing their finances responsibly. This is the story of income, not just what it buys, but what it does to you. Level 1, minimum wage, $20,000 to $30,000 per year. The survival mind. You wake up early not because you want to, but because the shift starts at 6 a.m. and the bus doesn't wait. Your alarm goes off twice. The second time, you remember that calling in sick means losing $90. And $90 is groceries for the week. At this income level, money is not a tool. It is a wall. Every decision passes through one filter. Can I afford this? After federal and payroll taxes, a $28,000 salary becomes roughly $23,000 in take-home pay. That's $1,916 a month to cover rent, food, transportation, phone, and whatever breaks next. You do not invest, not because you're irresponsible, but because investing requires surplus, and surplus is a luxury you haven't met yet. The emotional weight of this level is not just stress. It is the quiet, grinding shame of feeling like everyone else has figured out something you haven't. Time is not yours. You trade hours for dollars, and when the hours stop, so does the money. There is no passive income. There is no cushion. There is only the next shift. The hidden challenge at this level isn't spending too much. It's that no amount of discipline can outrun the math when there simply isn't enough to save. Level 2, $50,000 per year. The first exhale, something shifts at $50,000. Not everything, but enough. You're no longer counting exact change in the checkout line. The fear doesn't disappear, but it steps back slightly. Enough for you to breathe. After taxes, you take home roughly $39,000, about $3,250 a month. In many cities, that's still tight. In smaller towns, it begins to feel like ground. You start a savings account, maybe $200 a month. You tell yourself it's discipline. What it really is relief. The first small proof that you can build something. But stability is not freedom. You feel the difference. You can pay your bills, but you can't quit a job you hate. You can save for emergencies, but not for retirement. Not seriously, not yet. Your social life becomes a quiet negotiator. You say yes to some things and no to others. Not always by choice. You learn the art of seeming fine when asked how things are going. The hidden challenge here is lifestyle inflation. The moment more money arrives, spending expands to meet it. New car payment, nicer apartment. The raise disappears before it lands. At $50,000, you're no longer drowning, but you're not swimming either. You're treading water, and treading water takes everything you have. Level 3, $100,000 per year. The identity shift. Crossing $100,000 feels like crossing a border. Something in your identity updates, quietly, without announcement. You tell people what you do differently. Now. Your posture in professional settings changes. You stop apologizing for your opinions. After taxes, you take home between $68,000 and $72,000, depending on your state. Roughly $5,800 a month. For the first time, your savings can compound. You open a 401k and actually fund it. You start investing in index funds. You read about net worth rather than just bank balance. But here is where a new trap appears. Responsibilities expand. The lifestyle you built to match your income is expensive to maintain. Nicer apartment, car lease, gym membership, weekends away, a wardrobe that signals your new place in the room. These aren't extravagances. They feel like requirements. Your relationship with time begins to quietly shift. You are busy in a new way. Your calendar fills with meetings, obligations, and performance. You earn more, but rest less. The hidden challenge at $100,000 is that you've entered a social tier that rewards spending. Your peers validate every upgrade. The pressure to perform prosperity is relentless and invisible. Level 4, $250,000 per year, time becomes the currency. At $250,000 a year, you stop thinking about most purchases. The mental energy that once went to budgeting gets redirected. But something unexpected happens. You realize your most limited resource is no longer money, it's time. After taxes, you net roughly $155,000 to $165,000 annually. You max out your retirement contributions. You have a financial advisor. You own assets that quietly appreciate while you sleep. You pay people to do the things you used to do yourself. Cleaning, errands, accounting. Not because you can't, but because your time is now worth more than the task costs. Your social world narrows and elevates simultaneously. You have fewer close friends, but more valuable networks. Conversations shift from problems to opportunities. You start thinking in decades. Not paycheck to paycheck. Not year to year, decades. This is perhaps the most profound psychological transformation of the entire income ladder. The hidden challenge at this level is isolation. The higher you climb, the fewer people understand your problems. Complaining about taxes at a family dinner is not received well. You become careful about what you say and where you say it. You develop a performance of normalcy, and you perform it constantly. Level 5, $500,000 per year. The system builder. By $500,000, active income begins to feel like just one piece of a larger engine. You likely own equity in something, a business, a portfolio, real estate. Money begins generating money with less direct effort from you. After taxes, you retain approximately $290,000 to $320,000. The number that matters to you now isn't salary, it's net worth trajectory. You think in terms of assets and liabilities, cash flow and appreciation. The vocabulary of wealth replaces the vocabulary of income. Your daily routine no longer looks like work in the traditional sense. You have deep blocks of strategic thinking. You have meetings that move capital rather than time. You have the freedom to say no to clients, contracts, and commitments that don't serve a larger vision. But freedom creates its own pressure. Without external structure, discipline becomes entirely internal, and the weight of decisions for your employees, your family, your investors never truly rests. The hidden challenge here is meaning. When money is no longer a motivator, what drives you? Many people at this level confront an uncomfortable question. If financial security is solved, what is all of this for? Some double down on wealth accumulation. Others quietly begin to unravel. The answer to that question determines everything that comes next. Level 6. $1 million plus per year. Money as a lens. At $1 million a year, money stops being a destination. It becomes a tool, a lens through which you see leverage, opportunity, and legacy. The emotional experience of income at this level surprises most people who reach it. The anxiety doesn't vanish, it transforms. After taxes and obligations, you might retain $500,000 to $600,000 annually. But the number almost stops mattering in isolation. What matters is what you deploy it toward. You think about philanthropy not as charity, but as impact allocation. You think about generational wealth, not just what you'll leave, but what you'll build so others can build. Your daily life at this level is startlingly simple. You wake without an alarm. You choose your hours. You protect your attention like a billable asset. You eat well, sleep well, and exercise. Not as self-improvement projects, but as infrastructure. The people around you have been curated, consciously or not, for alignment. You are surrounded by builders, thinkers, and creators. And yet, the hidden challenge is one almost no one speaks about. At $1 million a year, you have solved money, but you have not solved being human. The grief is still there. The loneliness still visits. The uncertainty about whether your children will be okay, whether your relationships are real, whether the work was worth it. None of that has a price tag. Money, at its highest levels, removes obstacles. It does not install meaning, it clears the path, but you still have to decide where you're walking. Core realization. Every income level carries its own version of enough, and every version of enough gets revised the moment you reach it. The person earning $28,000 believes that $100,000 would solve everything. The person earning $100,000 is certain that $500,000 would finally bring peace. The person at $500,000 quietly suspects that 1 million might finally be the number. What income actually changes profoundly, permanently, is not happiness. It is identity. It is the story you tell about who you are, what you deserve, and what the future is allowed to look like. The data is consistent across decades of behavioral economics research. Once basic needs are comfortably met, additional income contributes marginally to reported well-being, but it contributes enormously to autonomy, the ability to choose your time, your environment, your relationships, and your risks. That is the real currency of higher income. Not luxury, not status, autonomy. Tonight, millions of people will go to sleep running the same quiet calculation they run every night, whether there's enough, whether the plan is working, whether they are behind. The man in the studio apartment does it, so does the woman in the penthouse. The spreadsheets look different. The fears wear different clothes. But somewhere inside both of them lives the same fundamental question, one that money alone has never answered and likely never will. Am I building a life, or am I just building a number? The income levels change, the question stays.